Hey guys, I'm Fuller.
I'm Jonah.
And this is this week's episode of Off the Line. Got a pretty big episode today. We got some stuff in the MLS, a very comprehensive Premier League review, cut over to League One, talk about Kylian Mbappe and company's antics. And I guess we'll round things off with just some MLS notes and our continuation of our MLS preview. To start it off, we'll just go ahead and knock out those MLS notes. Biggest news this week, Josef Martinez has signed a contract extension with Atlanta United for 5 more years. Certainly, I would say pretty out of the blue. I think a lot of people thought that Almiron would be gone, and now it appears that the Almiron deal is falling through with Newcastle.
Stalling, yeah.
So I'm wondering, I guess Atlanta's looking kind of pretty right now.
Yeah, they look better than they thought they would look at this point. I think that Almiron deal is very much still up in the air. His agent really seems to be trying to make something happen.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm seeing new comments from his agent almost every day.
Yes.
But the Martinez deal is like a huge coup.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I always found it kind of strange that you didn't hear as many links as you did with Almiron. But I think some of that does have to go back to him playing in Europe before and not necessarily setting it alight.
Yeah.
But you got to remember when he was playing at Torino, he was playing like out on the wing.
Yeah, absolutely. He only scored like 9 goals.
Yeah,
like
so
50, 60 games.
So that's obviously that's a huge lockdown for the club. I would say that's probably the biggest transfer coming in or out of MLS, and it wasn't even a transfer. That's definitely the biggest transfer news coming out, was them able to lock him down for 5 more years.
And it also kind of disrupts Atlanta's transfer plans right now because it's pretty much a widely known thing that Pity Martinez from River Plate is going to be signing with Atlanta upon the departure of Miguel Almiron. And now that we're seeing Almiron's deal at Newcastle stall and not a whole lot of interest from any big Premier League clubs, it does kind of throw a damper on that. I think he kind of alluded to that. He tweeted out last night just a couple dots signaling that he was waiting on something, I guess.
And stuck in limbo, yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, Austin FC. Austin FC, for who doesn't know, is kind of what Columbus Crew would have been.
Right.
But I don't know what the guy's name. It's like
Anthony Precourt.
Yeah, Anthony Precourt is one of the few people who has a deal with the MLS that he gets a team wherever, whenever. So they're going to be showing up 2021. That's what now, the 4th or 5th new MLS team in the past 2-3 years. That, Nashville, Miami, LA. Is there another one I'm thinking of?
I don't think so far. There was noise coming out that Detroit was, but I think Detroit's didn't get the bid. Yeah. I don't think there's any other bids that have been announced.
It's just cool, I guess, to see the MLS expanding.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that online, at least, Austin FC are already the most hated MLS team.
Oh, absolutely.
Catching so much crap because of the Columbus thing.
They immediately became the team everybody loves to hate in the MLS, and they haven't and won't play a game in the MLS for another at least, what'd you say, 2 seasons?
Yeah, this season. 2021 is when they started.
Okay, yeah. So, but I think it's a little bit unfair you can't hate on the Austin fans for wanting a team.
Absolutely.
So it kind of put them in an unfair position, but Anthony Precourt, I don't think it was it was a secret to us, but it wasn't a secret to him or MLS that this team was going to be put in Austin.
Yeah.
When he bought the Columbus Crew, or when he might have been the original owner. I think he
was the original owner.
He started that team, but when he started that team, his contract with MLS said you cannot move this team anywhere unless it's Austin. There was literally a clause in his contract that the only place he could move his team was to Austin. That all came out light recently, within the past couple months. But yeah, so obviously the move to Austin was always something he had on the horizon. I definitely think he envisaged himself moving his franchise to Austin rather than selling the franchise he started and starting a new one. But I think the Austin thing, while us as fans didn't know it was coming, the MLS definitely knew it was coming, obviously, from way back in the day when that got put into his contract, because it's a very odd clause to have unless it's going to happen.
We forgot the 5th team, FC Cincy. FC since he sucks. That's all I gotta say about it.
I think he did that on purpose.
Yeah. Big game today. Arsenal, Chelsea. As a
Yeah.
Chelsea fan, I'm sure you are very eager and willing to talk about it. But it was kind of a reversal of what we've kind of expected from these two teams. I think last week we talked about how Arsenal were going to lose this game and Chelsea were going to win, and it was going to make the top three more competitive and allow United to slip in. And I mean, granted, it was at Arsenal, but Chelsea, in my mind, dropped a ball. I mean, they're definitely the favorites to win.
Absolutely.
Is this? I mean, what's happening right now with Chelsea?
Well, it was a London derby. That's not an excuse, but
The stakes are raised.
Yeah, form is always kind of odd when you're playing a rival like that. But I mean, you said it just as good as I can. I think Chelsea really, really dropped the ball. If this game would have happened a month and a half ago when Arsenal was still hitting in fifth gear, I wouldn't be as concerned by the result.
Just a bad Arsenal
But yeah,
team last month.
it's been a really, really rough Arsenal team. So to see us drop the ball like that 2-0, it does kind of suck. But I think last week was when we were talking about whether it was going to be United hopping Arsenal or how that fourth spot's going to end. And I said that I haven't seen enough from Chelsea to say that they're not going to drop out of the top four. I think I also said I haven't seen enough from Arsenal and that I think Man U eventually will get there. But I think that still reigns true in the sense that Chelsea's problems, they were the same problems that we had a month ago. We haven't addressed them at all in the transfer window. Eden Hazard's still playing a false nine. And he's still doing what he always does, running into empty space in the attacking third, but it's just leaving this massive, gaping black hole where nobody runs, and our attack just still has no focal point. Unless you have Pedro making the occasional odd run into the box, we really have nobody creating any sort of like attacking penetration, and it's really, really frustrating to watch because Chelsea still. They weren't this way under Conte, but ever since Sarri took over, they've really become like a really, really talented possession team.
Yeah.
Like we can slice and dice through teams with possession, but it always happens. We always get within 5-10 yards of that of the box, and there's just there's just nobody there. Yeah, there's no like finishing product to put a stamp on. So it's just frustrating. Yeah. The result sucks because Arsenal also hasn't been playing well, but it doesn't surprise me that Chelsea aren't being able to get results against other big teams.
Yeah.
Because without a striker, you just can't expect to.
Yeah. Another big game, wasn't even really a big game going into it, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, but Crystal Palace put 3 past Liverpool. No one has done that yet this season. After, conceding 2 goals to City, are we starting to see cracks in this Liverpool defense that's supposed to be the best ever? That's supposed to be sick.
I think that, nobody expected them to ship 3 goals, but, I believe they played Fabinho at center back again. Their defense is kind of a wreck right now because Lovren's injured, Joe Gomez is still injured, and apparently Klopp prefers Fabinho at center back over Joel Matip. So their defense is getting really, really stretched thin right now. But I still think there's something in the water or something in the food that Roy Hodgson drinks because he gets results against big teams. He obviously didn't get the full result today, but when you see the wins and the draws that he's been able to get against Pep Guardiola, you just see him being able to make his team ready, set up well against big teams. I'm sure it's frustrating for the Palace fans because I know they have a really, really poor scoring record at home this year.
Yeah.
They don't score very many goals at home. So I'm sure it's frustrating to see them find such success against big teams when they can't do it against the teams that they really need to be beating. But I think Liverpool's defense is going through struggles and Roy Hodgson is doing Roy Hodgson things. I think that's good summary of what happened in that game.
It's cool. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I just think the expectations on Liverpool are starting to catch up.
Absolutely.
I think normally they wouldn't let a team like Crystal Palace put 3 past them. Like you said, Crystal Palace, trouble scoring at home. I just think that, I don't know, if there was a time for Liverpool to drop points, it's going to be the next month or so.
Yeah.
If they make it this next month unscathed, then, I mean, it's the title's theirs.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, United win today, 7th win in a row under Solskjaer. Really just kind of want to talk about the improved form of Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back, he was Mourinho's most played player besides David De Gea the last 2 seasons. So he obviously got game time under Mourinho. I don't think it wasn't like Pogba where he was just sitting on the bench for a full 90 minutes.
Right.
But I think he easily has had the most luck and success the past 7 games under Solskjaer. I don't know. There's just something new about him. He's playing in the number 9 role.
I think that's the biggest part.
I really think it is. And I think having Pogba in the 10 right behind him, just great, feeding him passes all day long. Don't want to talk a whole lot about United, though. They didn't really pull off that spectacular of a victory. 2-1 against Brighton. And I think we still saw a lot of the defensive miscues that plagued this season under Mourinho. But I still think it's another step forward. I think it's a 7th win in a row, the 6th Premier League win in a row. They're going to lose soon. I have that feeling. I think a lot of people are going to jump on the bandwagon of Pogba sucks. Like Pogba's going to have a bad game eventually, and everyone's going to come out of the woodwork for that. But I still am very impressed with everything that I'm seeing so far.
We saw a lot, pretty much since his introduction by Louis van Gaal. We've seen Rashford play pretty much everywhere across the front 3.
Yeah.
And I think now we're really seeing that he is a center forward. He is the center striker, and that's where he should be playing. My question for you is, would you like to continue to see him get those starts in that position? And what does that mean for the long-term future of like Romelu Lukaku?
It's literally like as soon as you said my question for you, I knew he was going to ask about Lukaku. And that's actually what I've been thinking about the last couple of days, because Lukaku, great striker, phenomenal hold-up play. He's physical. He'll get a head or a touch on almost any ball you get into him, but he just goes so cold. He scored a couple games under Solskjaer, to his credit, but his Big 6 record is just atrocious. I would like to see Rashford playing in the number 9 role, and I would like to see Lukaku being that first choice sub off the bench. Because, like you said, one of the great things about Rashford is we've seen him on the left and right wing. So if Jesse Lingard's not doing well, sub Lukaku in for him, switch Rashford out to the right. I think there's just so much versatility you get with Marcus Rashford that I don't think it's necessarily the end for Lukaku. I think if anything, it's going to be a call for Lukaku to step his game up.
Yeah, and I think especially at the age Lukaku is, you really have to question whether he would be interested in having not necessarily a bit part role, but not the main focus. But I think if there's any club on the planet, maybe three or four clubs on the planet where he would be happy playing a bench role, I think United would be one of them.
I don't see him leaving over it.
So yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a situation where if he's not nailed on for 37, 38 starts for the year, that he's going to leave. So I think it leaves United in a pretty good spot.
And also don't think it hurts that, Ole Solskjaer was never a nailed-on starter at United, but he made his career coming off the bench and making important plays. I definitely don't think it hurts to have someone like that in your ears saying, like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. You're going to get 30 minutes. You're going to get 20 minutes. And you're going to be so well rested, and you're going to do what I say, you're going to nick a goal every single time. And Lukaku is, again, phenomenal, talented player, but Rashford's in such a rich vein of form right now.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that, Newcastle, Cardiff, big relegation battle.
I think, yeah, other than the Chelsea-Arsenal game, I think that was probably the biggest, results-wise, the biggest game of the weekend. It saw Newcastle come back out of the relegation zone, and it saw Cardiff slip in, which oddly I think might be one of the first times they've been in the relegation zone, which is where everybody thought they would be from week 1. So yeah, I just think it's a massive, massive win, especially the fashion that they did it in. Newcastle really seems to, you just don't see them win by multiple goal margins. So to see them win 3-0, I'm sure it gives their players a lot of confidence, especially because I haven't watched a ton of Newcastle this year, but I definitely, like, just against Chelsea, for instance, they just do a ton of sitting back and chasing the ball. And I think we talked about this on last week's show. That just has to be draining for a team. There's no way you can do that for a full season and just, like, have your players be up for it. So I think not only the team that they did it against, but also, like, the style that they did it in, I think it was a huge result for Newcastle going forward.
Leicester Wolves played today. I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, but very spicy game. Diego Jota. Is it Jota or Jota?
I think because he's Portuguese, it's Jota.
Jota?
Yeah, because they pronounce the J.
So he becomes the second ever Portuguese to score a hat trick after
your boy Ronaldo.
There you go. Great game. I really only got to see, like, the tail end of it, but always like a good last minute goal. David Wagner gone from Huddersfield. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it. We almost had different opinions on this off camera. He stepped down. It wasn't a situation where he was fired. And from what I've heard about it, and from what he said in his interview after leaving the job, was he was just kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
He wasn't up for the fight. He didn't feel like he had the amount of passion that was needed to be able to drive his team forward like he did last year. Which honestly, I think fair enough. I don't know how well that reflects on you as a coach if you can't get up for that sort of job, for a Premier League job. But I've already heard him linked with other Premier League jobs. Yeah. Like, I've heard it suggested that once Watford starts going on their manager merry-go-round, that he very well could end up there. So I can very easily see this turning into a Roberto Martinez situation where he piggybacks from one flailing Premier League team to another. He might be able to parlay that into kind of a better situation. But yeah, he's gone, and I don't necessarily think, I don't think they have close to enough talent to stay up. It's going to take quite a miracle.
No. So let's just go ahead and just pick some games for tomorrow. City. Who's City playing?
I need to look at the slate of games for tomorrow.
City's going to win. That's my pick.
Yeah, that's
City's
easily
going to
my
win
pick.
tomorrow. That's my pick. Fulham, Tottenham. This game's really interesting to me because I think Son is gone now.
Yep, he is.
And Kane is now out for a month. And I mean, this is the most crucial time of the season right now. I mean, the amount of fixtures they're going to have in the next month or so. I think Harry Kane's going to miss close to 9 games across everything. That is such a blow for Tottenham. And I don't want to say Fulham's going to win tomorrow. Would not be surprised if Tottenham cannot get a goal. I mean, they still have Christian Eriksen. They still have really good players.
They have, but Pochettino made a really interesting move. It's widely speculated that he's going to start Dele Alli, whether he's an out-and-out striker or he functions as some sort of false nine, almost like a attacking mid type deal. Dele's going to be up top in light of Kane and Son being gone, which was interesting because I almost expected him to put Dele up there with Lucas. Because Lucas, when paired with Kane earlier this year, was playing really well. Yeah. So I thought Lucas would figure into that mix of being up top to some capacity, but
it's the fascism. He can't play right now.
I don't necessarily that was the wrong move, and it could be a right move. The game hasn't happened yet, but I'm interested to see how the comments come out. Pochettino described Dele Alli's attacking style to Leo Messi, which I just don't think is a smart move to put on a player of his age, to put on a player that plays with such emotion like he does.
Yeah.
I just don't see I just don't see the upside of making that comparison.
I mean, Lionel Messi would never have let Ashley Young talk shit to his face. Actually, like the first where they don't match up. But no, I mean,
I think that's a good shot though. Fulham are really, really struggling though.
Yeah.
Like, if a team that was struggling to score goals had to pick any team to go up against, it might be Fulham. They are absolutely shipping goals this season.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see. So towards the end of each show, we're going to pick back up with our MLS previews. We're just going 2 teams in East, 2 teams in West. So this week we're up on our Eastern Conference teams are Columbus and DC. We'll go ahead and start with Columbus. Obviously, Greg Berhalter out.
USMT.
But for me, they replaced Greg Berhalter with one of the most up-and-coming American coaches right now in Caleb Porter. Caleb Porter had an insane amount of success at the college level at Akron way back in the day. Since then, he's coached at Portland, had a really successful job at Portland. He won Portland their championship. So they're replacing one great American coach with another, so I definitely think they made a very smart move there. But I think the bigger story of Columbus this season is just going to be the success of the Save the Crew movement.
Yeah.
And the fact that I personally, I don't think anybody expected that to have any success at all. Just because we've seen it happen in American sports over and over again. Yeah. Franchises moving on a whim. And kind of showing a lack of empathy and a lack of respect towards the fan bases in that respect. So I think that's a massive story, and I think it's going to make Columbus a lot of fun to watch. But besides on the field, I think Caleb Porter is going to be the big story, and it'll be interesting to see if they can hold down Jassy Zardes, because Jassy Zardes scored more goals than any other American in the MLS last year. And I don't know which clubs, but he has been linked with a move abroad, so we'll be interested to see if he ends up in a lower level La Liga team or League One team, or if they're able to hold on to him, because that's a huge piece of what they were able to achieve last year. Moving over to the other Eastern Conference team, DC United, Wayne Rooney. Were you able to watch any a lot of him last season? He was able to create a really good partnership with Luchi Acosta.
I know that he was successful. I know that DC were struggling kind of like before he got there, and he really helped them make it to the playoffs. But outside of that, no.
And it was odd because a lot of MLS fans, and more specifically a lot of DC fans, were super underwhelmed by his signing. And I just think he's come in and had the best impact that an aging European player has had in the MLS easily since David Villa. Yeah, Ibra couldn't even get his team to the playoffs. Like, Ibra was there to score 6 goals. He's going to score more 6 goals next year, but
Galaxy probably won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what Wayne Rooney literally took like the worst team in the Eastern Conference and made them like not only a playoff team, but like a playoff team that was a decent pick to move forward. They weren't able to, but he made them competitive. So him moving forward, him signing another year contract, huge. They've held on so far to Luchi Acosta, which is huge. And that's basically all I've seen. We've seen some people leave. Darren Maddox left. He's going to FC Cincinnati. That wasn't really that much of a surprise because Wayne Rooney came in and took his spot. Wayne Rooney is a far better striker than Darren Maddox. So seeing him go, not that big of a deal. We did see Ian Hartz, the 23-year-old US U23 international. He got his move to Europe. He's playing for Dundee United now. Not necessarily the caliber of team that I would have liked to see him move to. I would like to see him move to a team that he would have a chance to play in the Champions League for. Yeah. But moving to Europe nonetheless is still impressive.
Big move.
So losing one up-and-comer, it's definitely going to leave room for more. They have Chris Durkin, who I think is like 19 or 20, who played a defensive midfield role last year, but I was looking at their roster earlier today, and they have him listed as an attacker now.
Nice.
I'm not really sure where that's going, but Ian Hart's leaving will definitely free up some room for Durkin, and also free up room for Russell Knaus, who's the same age, 23 years old. He's another US U23. So yeah, it'll be a kind of interesting mix of the Wayne Rooney, old U.S. young players. I think DC might actually be a fun team to watch this year.
Moving on to the West.
Yeah.
Dynamo and what was the other one we had?
I think the other one's the
Dynamo
Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you lead it off.
Yeah. Dynamo, kind of an underwhelming team for the past couple seasons, honestly. Like, the biggest action they've had was when they brought in Wilmer Cabrera from Chivas USA, and they brought him in, like, I think he's about to be in his 3rd or 4th season as the head coach. They were definitely expecting him to have a much bigger impact coming off of the job he was able to do at Chivas. So that's kind of concerning to me. And it's also really concerning to me that I look at their roster and I look at the moves they've made this offseason, and they're still going to be relying on DeMarcus Beasley.
Nice.
Who will be turning 37 years old.
Oh, I know.
In the middle of the season. They also have Leonardo, the Brazilian center back. I think he's like 34, 35 at this point. So the Dynamo, they easily could have some concerns moving forward. I haven't seen their coach, Wilmer Cabrera. I haven't seen him really do anything with the team that would make me think this season's going to be any different than the seasons prior. So definitely a little underwhelming of an offseason for Dynamo fans. But moving on, not underwhelming offseason for Galaxy. I think the Galaxy so far have done everything they could in their power to give their fans some hope that the dumpster fire will finally be put out. Because let's face it, they were atrocious last season. Which is odd because they have like a really good core of talent in that team. They have Zlatan, obviously, but they have Ola Kamara, one of if the not the best striker in MLS besides Zlatan. But then you also have really good midfielders. You have like Perry Kitchen and Sebastian Lletget. You have Roman Alessandrini and Derek Etienne Jr. I think maybe they have Etienne. They just have a lot of good attacking players. I think their huge problem is their defense. Like you can't have Ashley Cole still starting at left back for you. Their defense was one of the best paid defenses in the league last year, and I think they let in more goals than any other team. So there's just like a huge imbalance there, and I definitely think if Shilota comes in from Boca and is able to either bring some bodies in or just give that defense some sort of identity, I think the Galaxy turnaround could be a lot sooner than people are expecting it to be, just because of how horrible they were last season. Because like I said, they have a huge crop of talent just waiting to be, it's kind of like a puzzle that needs to just be put together.
So where do you see these 4 teams finishing?
Galaxy's tough, but I think I would consider them in playoff contention. We'll call them playoffs.
Dynamo, no, I don't think make the playoffs.
Yeah, Dynamo.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I really don't see it. Columbus, they definitely could be if Jassy sticks around. They still have Higuain. Caleb Porter's an excellent coach. Definitely has a lot of playoff pedigree. So I definitely could see Columbus in playoff contention. And what was the other team that we? Yeah.
DC.
DC.
Oh, yeah, DC will make the playoffs this year. I'm very convinced of that.
DC should be able to make the playoffs, assuming they can keep carrying that momentum from last season into this season, which they haven't made a ton of moves, so it looks like they'll be able to.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps things up. Fuller?
I'm Jonah.
Have a good one.